0%. That's how many salaried employees make it to the top. Not 1%, not half a percent, literally zero. The richest people on earth? 75% are entrepreneurs. 15% are investors. 7% inherited it. 3% are entertainers. And this one stat changes everything you thought about money. Every single category has one thing in common: ownership. They all own something. Entrepreneurs own businesses, investors own assets, trust fund kids own trusts. Athletes and artists own rare, irreplaceable skills nobody can take from them. If you don't own something, you are what's owned. Read that again. That's the secret most people sleepwalk right past every single day. But here's the real question. How do you start building ownership from nothing? Even if you're not pulling in six figures, even if you're starting from zero. The answer is the 25-15-50-10 rule, and it changes everything. A budgeting framework designed so anyone can manage money like the wealthiest people. Because here's the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to hear right now. It was never about how much you make. It was always about how you manage it. This system has turned modest paychecks into multi-million-dollar net worths. Starting from zero money, zero qualifications, just this one framework. Let's break it down piece by piece. Starting with the most important number, 25% growth. The money that actually works for you while you sleep. The first quarter of every dollar goes toward assets that compound over time. Not growth mindset platitudes, real, tangible, compounding assets you can measure. Here's why this matters so urgently. When most people get paid, they blow it. They cover bills and spend the rest on forgettable purchases every single month. That's exactly why 99% of people end up owning nothing of value. The system is designed to keep you rich for a week and broke by month's end. Desperate enough to grind even harder next cycle. That's the trap. But here's where it gets interesting. The math on starting early is staggering. Meet Billy. He starts investing $200 a month at age 20. Now meet Phil. He waits until 30 but invests $300 a month to catch up. By age 60, Phil has contributed $108,000 total. That's $12,000 more than Billy's $96,000. Phil invested more money. But assuming 10% average annual returns from the S&P 500 over a century, Phil's portfolio lands at $678,000. Solid, right? Billy's portfolio? $1.26 million, nearly double, with less money invested. That's compound growth, and it punishes procrastination mercilessly every single year. So, what should you actually buy? Think of growth assets on a risk spectrum. At the safe end, index funds like the S&P 500. You buy the entire market. Then, real estate. Rental properties or REITs if you can't afford a down payment yet. In the middle, high-income skills. Copywriting, coding, sales, fastest ROI you'll ever see. Nobody can repossess your skills. They live in your brain forever. Higher up, online businesses and individual stocks. Treat stock picking like a hobby. At the very top, Bitcoin, Ethereum, gold, collectibles. Fun moonshots only. Never risk more than you can afford to lose on those. That's the golden rule. The smart move? Start with index funds and skill building. That's your foundation. Set up a Roth IRA, up to $7,000 a year if you're under 50. Or a 401k with employer matching. That's literally free money on the table. Peter Thiel turned his Roth IRA into over $5 billion. $5 billion. These accounts let your money grow tax-free. That's a legal cheat code. Then, automate everything. Monthly transfer on payday. Set it and forget it. A simple 3-fund portfolio. U.S. stocks, international stocks, and bonds for stability. Once it's automated, stop fiddling. Go earn more money and feed the machine. Now, the second number. 15%. Stability. The money that keeps you alive. And then, everything changed. Picture this. You're 18. You need a car for work. Zero savings. So you take out a loan. 3 months later, the engine explodes. No backup, no safety net. You borrow more, debt piles on top of debt. That one breakdown sets your finances back an entire year. One single event. That's why 15% of your income must sit in a stability fund. Non-negotiable. Calculate your monthly baseline. Rent, groceries, utilities, transport. Multiply by 5. If your essentials run $1,500 a month, your target is $7,500. There are 3 non-negotiable rules for this stability money, and if you break any of them, the whole system falls apart. Rule number 1, it must be accessible within 24 hours. Rule number 2, it must be zero risk. Never put your emergency fund in the stock market or crypto. Those can crash 50% overnight and leave you stranded when you need it most. Rule number 3, it must always earn something. Park it in a high-yield savings account paying 4 to 5% from banks like SoFi, Ally, or Marcus by Goldman Sachs, all FDIC insured. Now here's how you build that fund fast. Tactic 1 is the paycheck sweep. On payday, 15% automatically leaves your checking account before you can even think about spending it. Tactic 2 is the replacement promise. If you ever dip into your stability fund for an emergency, you top it back up immediately with your next paycheck. No exceptions, no delays. Tactic 3 is the save by spending hack. Use roundup apps and cashback rewards and funnel every single cent of that straight into your stability fund. It adds up shockingly fast. Now we hit the big one. 50%, essentials. The money that feeds you, houses you, and keeps you functioning. But here's the shocking part most people miss entirely. Over 60% of Americans earning 6 figures still live paycheck to paycheck. Let that sink in. 6-figure earners, broke by the end of every single month. The problem isn't income. The culprit is lifestyle creep disguised as essentials. You get a raise, your spending rises to match it, and you convince yourself every new expense is necessary. It's the silent wealth killer. Real essentials keep you alive and functioning. Rent, groceries, utilities, transport, insurance, basic clothing. That's it. Everything else is a want pretending to be a need. Takeout, forgotten subscriptions, the gym you haven't visited since January, those aren't essentials. Go through your bank statements right now and cancel anything you're not actively using. Focus your cuts on the 2 biggest wealth killers in America, housing and transportation. These 2 categories alone eat up more of your income than everything else combined. For housing, renegotiate your lease or consider house hacking, renting out a room or a unit to offset your mortgage. For transportation, buy used reliable cars that have already taken their depreciation hit. In walkable cities, ditching the car entirely can free up hundreds per month when you factor in insurance, maintenance, gas, and parking. That money goes straight back into your growth fund. Then replace willpower with systems. Before any non-essential purchase, run it through 3 filters. Filter 1, is it an impulse? If yes, apply the 7-day rule. Most urges evaporate within a week. Filter 2, are you buying for the brand or the value? A $60 boot worn 100 times beats a $200 sneaker worn twice. Cost per use is the real metric. Filter 3, will it genuinely improve your life? If the honest answer to that question is no, walk away. No guilt, no second thoughts. Just walk away and keep your money. And finally, the last 10%. Rewards, the money that keeps you sane. This is the part that most financial gurus completely ignore, and it's exactly why most budgets fail. A staggering 92% of people report overspending after intense saving sprints. Deprivation without joy feels like punishment, and your brain will rebel against punishment every single time. That's why 10% is your guilt-free reward fund. Not an excuse to blow money, but a strategic release valve that makes the entire 25-15-50-10 system actually sustainable long-term. Now here's where the stability fund gets really powerful. That 5-month cushion isn't just about emergencies. It's about buying yourself time to make smart decisions instead of desperate ones. Think about it. When you have zero savings, every financial decision is made from fear. You take the first job offer, accept bad deals, and stay in situations that drain you because you literally cannot afford to leave. But with 5 months of expenses saved up, you have leverage. You can negotiate harder, walk away from toxic situations, and take calculated risks that broke people simply cannot take. So let's talk about the 3 non-negotiable rules for your stability fund. Rule number 1, it must be accessible within 24 hours. No lockup periods, no penalties, no waiting. Rule number 2, it must be zero risk. That means never in the stock market, never in crypto, never in anything that can lose value overnight. This is your safety net, not your growth engine. Rule number 3, it must always earn something. A high-yield savings account paying 4 to 5% interest means your safety net is quietly growing while it protects you. Banks like SoFi, Ally, and Marcus by Goldman Sachs all offer FDIC-insured high-yield savings accounts. Your money is protected up to $250,000 by the federal government. Now, let me give you 3 tactics to build this fund fast. First, the paycheck sweep. On every single payday, 15% gets automatically transferred out before you even see it. Second, the replacement promise. If you ever dip into your stability fund for a real emergency, you commit to topping it back up immediately with your next few paychecks. No exceptions. Third, the save by spending hack. Use Roundup apps and cashback rewards and funnel every single cent directly into your stability fund. It adds up way faster than you think. All right, now let's move to the biggest chunk of your budget. 50% goes to essentials. And I need you to pay very close attention here because this is where most people silently destroy their wealth. Here's a stat that should genuinely shock you. Over 60% of Americans earning 6 figures still live paycheck to paycheck, 6 figures, and they're still broke by the end of the month. The problem isn't that they don't earn enough. The problem is lifestyle creep. Every raise gets absorbed by a bigger apartment, a nicer car, fancier restaurants, and subscriptions they forgot they had. So, what actually counts as an essential? Rent or mortgage? Groceries, not takeout. Utilities. Transportation. Insurance. Basic clothing. That's it. Everything else is a want disguised as a need. That gym membership you haven't used since January? Not essential. Those 3 streaming services you rotate between? Not essential. The daily $5 coffee? Definitely not essential. I want you to do something right now. Pull up your bank statement from last month. Go line by line. Highlight everything that isn't keeping you alive or functioning. I guarantee you'll find hundreds of dollars in waste. Now, let's talk about the 2 biggest wealth killers hiding in your essentials category. Number 1 is housing. For most Americans, rent or mortgage eats 30 to 40% of their income all by itself. If housing alone is eating more than 30% of your take-home pay, you need to make a change. Renegotiate your lease, get a roommate, or consider house hacking where you rent out part of your property. House hacking is incredibly powerful. Buy a duplex, live in one unit, rent out the other. Your tenant essentially pays your mortgage while you build equity. That's ownership in action. Wealth killer number 2 is transportation. The average American spends over $1,000 a month on car payments, insurance, gas, maintenance, and parking combined. That's $12,000 a year just to get around. The smart move? Buy a reliable used car that's already taken its biggest appreciation hit. A 3-year-old Honda or Toyota loses way less value than a brand new car driven off the lot. If you live in a walkable city, consider ditching the car entirely. When you add up insurance, maintenance, parking, and gas, you could free up $500 to $1,000 every single month. Now, here's the psychological trick that makes the 50% rule actually work. You need to replace willpower with systems, because willpower is a finite resource that runs out every single day. Before any non-essential purchase, run it through 3 filters. Filter 1, is this an impulse? If yes, apply the 7-day rule. Wait 7 days. Most urges completely evaporate by then. Filter 2, are you buying for the brand or the value? A $60 boot worn 100 times costs 60 cents per wear. A $200 sneaker worn twice costs $100 per wear. Filter 3, will this genuinely improve my life? Not for a day, not for a week, but in a meaningful, lasting way. If the honest answer is no, you walk away. Simple as that. These 3 filters sound simple, but they will save you thousands of dollars a year. The key is making them automatic. Tape them to your credit card if you have to. Make the system unavoidable. All right, now we get to the fun part. The final 10%. This is your reward money, your guilt-free spending fund. And honestly, this might be the most important piece of the entire system. Here's why. A staggering 92% of people report overspending after intense saving sprints. Deprivation without joy feels like punishment, and humans are hardwired to rebel against punishment. That's why every extreme budget eventually fails. You white-knuckle it for 3 months, then one bad day hits, and you blow $500 on stuff you don't even want. Sound familiar? The 10% reward fund isn't an indulgence. It's a strategic pressure valve that makes the entire 25, 15, 50, 10 system sustainable for years, not just weeks. Here's how to set it up. Open a separate account. Call it your joy jar. Automate 10% of every paycheck into it. When it hits zero, you wait until next month. No borrowing from other buckets. That constraint is the magic. When you know the joy jar is all you've got for fun this month, you become incredibly intentional about what actually brings you happiness versus what's just noise. And here's the key insight. Prioritize experiences over things. Research consistently shows that experiences create lasting happiness, while material purchases deliver only a brief dopamine spike that fades fast. Vacations that create lasting memories and prevent burnout. Hobbies that keep you passionate and creative. Nights out that maintain your social network. Thoughtful gifts that strengthen your relationships. Stuff depreciates the moment you buy it. But memories? Memories compound. They get better with time, they strengthen bonds, and they remind you why you're building wealth in the first place. All right, now let's zoom out and look at the full picture. Because when you combine all 4 pieces, something incredible happens. The system becomes self-reinforcing, and it accelerates over time. The 25% builds your future through compounding assets. The 15% protects that future from unexpected disasters. The 50% keeps you grounded in reality. And the 10% keeps you human. And here's the beautiful part. As your income grows, every single category scales proportionally. A raise doesn't just mean more spending money. It means more growth, more stability, and more joy simultaneously. Let me show you what this looks like in practice. Say you earn $4,000 a month after taxes. 25% means $1,000 goes straight to growth investments every single month. 15% means $600 into your high-yield stability fund. 50% means $2,000 covers all your real essentials, and 10% means $400 of pure, guilt-free fun. Now, fast forward, that $1,000 a month invested at a 10% average annual return, the historical S&P 500 average becomes over $200,000 in just 10 years. In 20 years, that same $1,000 a month becomes over $750,000. And in 30 years, you're looking at nearly $2 million from $1,000 a month. And remember, that's assuming your income never increases, but it will. Every raise, every side hustle, every promotion feeds more fuel into the machine, and the compounding accelerates even faster. Now, let's talk about the deeper lesson here, because the 25, 15, 50, 10 rule isn't really about budgeting. It's about understanding what wealth actually is versus what most people think it is. Wealth isn't what you see. It's not the designer clothes, the leased luxury cars, the flashy dinners posted on Instagram. That's spending. That's consumption. That's the opposite of wealth. Real wealth is what you don't see. It's the quietly compounding index funds, the fully stocked emergency account, the automated systems running in the background while you sleep, building your future silently. The person driving a 10-year-old Toyota with $1 million portfolio is infinitely wealthier than the person leasing a BMW with $30,000 in credit card debt. Appearances lie. Balance sheets don't. And this brings us back to where we started. Remember that stat? 75% of the world's richest people are entrepreneurs. 15% are investors. 0% are regular salaried employees. The common thread isn't intelligence or luck or connections, it's ownership. Every single category owns something. Entrepreneurs own businesses, investors own assets, athletes own irreplaceable skills. The 25-15-50-10 rule is your bridge to ownership. That 25% growth allocation is how you start owning assets even if you're making $40,000 a year right now. Let's revisit the growth category one more time because I want to give you a concrete action plan. Step 1. Open a Roth IRA if you haven't already. You can contribute up to $7,000 per year. The Roth IRA is arguably the most powerful wealth-building tool available to regular Americans. Your money grows completely tax-free, and you pay zero taxes on withdrawals in retirement. It's a legal cheat code. Peter Thiel reportedly turned his Roth IRA into over $5 billion by investing in early-stage companies like PayPal and Facebook inside the account. $5 billion, tax-free. Let that sink in. Now you probably won't find the next PayPal, and that's fine. Step 2 is to set up a simple 3-fund portfolio inside your Roth IRA. This is the boring strategy that quietly creates millionaires. Fund 1, a U.S. total stock market index fund. This gives you exposure to the entire American economy in a single investment. Low fees, massive diversification, historically 10% annual returns. Fund 2, an international stock index fund. This spreads your risk across global markets so you're not betting everything on one country. Think of it as geographic diversification for your portfolio. Fund 3, a bond index fund for stability. Bonds are less exciting, but they smooth out the ride during market crashes. When stocks drop 30%, bonds typically hold steady or even rise. Step 3, automate everything. Set up a monthly transfer on payday directly into these 3 funds. Once it's automated, stop checking it. Stop fiddling. Your only job now is to earn more and feed the machine. If your employer offers a 401k with matching, max that out first. Employer matching is literally free money. If they match 50% up to 6% of your salary, that's an instant 50% return on your investment. Now, beyond index funds, remember the growth spectrum we talked about earlier. High-income skills sit right in the middle, and they might be the single best investment you can make in your 20s and 30s. Skills like copywriting, coding, sales, and digital marketing can double or triple your income within 1 to 2 years. And unlike stocks, nobody can repossess your skills. They're yours forever. Think about it this way. If you spend 3 months learning a high-income skill and it increases your salary by $20,000 a year, that's the equivalent of a $2 million investment portfolio generating the same return. That's the fastest return on investment you'll ever find. And the best part? That extra $20,000 a year gets fed right back into your 25% growth allocation, compounding even faster. Now, let me address the elephant in the room. Some of you are thinking, 25% to growth? I can barely cover my bills. I hear you. And here's what I want you to understand. The percentages are targets, not prison sentences. If you can only do 10% to growth right now, start there. 5%? Start there. Even 1% is infinitely better than 0 because it builds the habit. The habit of paying yourself first is more important than the amount. Once the behavior is locked in, you can gradually increase the percentage as your income grows or your expenses shrink. And remember, the 50% essentials category is where you find the extra room. Every dollar you cut from unnecessary spending is a dollar that can flow into growth. Audit ruthlessly. Cancel subscriptions you don't use. Cook at home more. Negotiate your rent. Switch to a cheaper phone plan. These aren't sacrifices, they're strategic reallocations from consumption to ownership. Let me give you one more powerful example to drive this home. Meet 2 people, same salary, $60,000 a year, same city, same age. The only difference is how they manage their money. Person A follows the 25-15-50-10 rule. Invests $1,250 a month, builds a stability fund, keeps essentials lean, and enjoys $400 guilt-free dollars for fun. Person B spends 90% on lifestyle and saves whatever's left over, which is usually nothing. Nice apartment, new car, eating out 4 times a week. Looks successful. Net worth? Basically 0. Fast forward 10 years. Person A has over $200,000 in investments, a fully funded emergency account, 0 debt, and options. Person B has a nicer Instagram feed and nothing else. 20 years out, Person A is approaching millionaire status and could realistically retire early. Person B is still grinding, still broke, still wondering why they can never get ahead despite earning a decent salary. Same income, same opportunities, completely different outcomes. The only variable was the system. That's the power of the 25-15-50-10 rule. It turns ordinary income into extraordinary wealth. So, let me bring this all together with the most important takeaway. The gap between the top 1% and everyone else isn't talent, it isn't luck, it isn't a trust fund, it's ownership and intention. Own assets, own skills, own a system that makes the right financial decisions automatic so you don't have to rely on willpower when you're tired, stressed, or staring at a sale notification at midnight. Start with whatever you have. Don't wait for the perfect moment.